All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Somebody just tweeted us. Everybody get joined in here. 1 second, please. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. And woo, what a day! We would have finished the month of November as we head into December. Really, really pretty wild stuff here today. We'll take a look at all the charts here in a little bit, but before we get started, everything we're going to talk about today is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. So what we're going to do is, guys, we're going to go over the, we're going to take a look and see where we left off in the market here today. We're going to take a look at some of those charts, and then we're going to continue our series this week on setting stops, important stuff, right? And then we'll go through and take questions in ChatterQuant. So let's get started. All right, guys. So today is the last day of November, and the last day for this candle to form here on the monthly chart, and it turned into a shooting star candle here in the monthly. So guys, this is interesting, right? So I'm not saying that we won't push to all-time highs, right? Because this happened here, guys, right there, right before, and it looks a little more ominous here if you're looking at it like this, right? So before the corona crash, right? And we actually pushed above it for a little bit. Oops, we pushed above it for a little bit, and then we started to really flush there, and that was the Corona crash right there. And then of course we bounced off the lower Bollinger Band, and then just ripped here to the upside over the last basically 2 years, right? So so this is the first really kind of reversal candle, major reversal candle we see. We did have a bearish engulfing candle here on the monthly chart, barely got any downside follow through, and now we got to push up here to at the top of this geometric line here too, right? So if we take it from the high before the corona crash, right? We stretch it out through these levels, right? We actually tag the top of that geo line right there. So there is a chance that we essentially, if you look at that as just a kind of part of a channel here, right? So if I remove this and I go like this here, oops, wow, thinkorswim going really slow here. All right, so we got this. Wow, it's getting really kind of slowy here. All right, let me see here. Ah, why? All right, there we go. Put it down there. Right, so there is a possibility, right, that off of these levels that we pull back to the bottom of the channel, right? So this is just one channel level. There's a couple others. Let me take a look at this here and make sure I've got all my data is coming through. Okay, I might have to restart it if it's acting funny. No, it's just, yeah, I got a little delayed data coming through here, guys. Give me 1 second, and let me reboot thinkorswim, and then we'll log back in here in a second because the data is going slow. I don't know why we've had all these little issues today, but give me 1 second. Let me reboot this. Yeah, it's just going slow here, so we'll take care of it. Something happens there at the end of the day. I think they might do like an end of the day update or something like that, and it just gets it into like slow motion mode. But I'm just gonna knock this out right here real quick, and let's see, there it goes. Okay, cool. And for some reason that's not exiting. Goodness, it's not showing any of the it's not showing any of them in the task manager here, so that's fine. Give me 1 second. Let's do a reboot here, and that'll give us a little bit faster data. It should on the reboot. It's just odd, just just randomly. It's just like, hey, I'm just gonna give you delayed data. Thank you. I need to call thinkorswim this week and see if I can. There's supposedly something I can do to increase the efficiency of it. Like there might be a patch or something like that they can put in here, but where it stops gobbling so much memory. It's just that thinkorswim is just goes after memory. Like it sees it, it's just like, oh, more, and it just, the longer you give it to it, it's like the more it takes, right? So so anyway, let's get this here. Windows coming up here, guys. Sorry, it takes a minute. Go. So let's see. Let me just make sure all the lines are in here properly. There. Oh, the daily. Let's see the weekly and the monthly. There we go. Okay, so let me get that pulled up here back to the broadcaster here. There. Okay, cool. We're back. We are good. So so cool. So okay, moving a little bit smoother now. So so we've got the Let me just take care. Let's take out a couple of these background processes here. Okay, cool. So good. So yeah, so guys, with the SPX. Again, upper shadow on the monthly chart, kind of sketchy right here. Like we said, we're basically at the top of this channel right here off the monthly. There's a couple other, we could do another channel. We could actually stretch it out here, right? So if, we can kind of pull it back to this level right here. This is a pretty good one right here, but you can go here for a little bit lower. But in general, this is kind of the next major level down that if it really wanted to test it, would kind of be like, hey, that monthly, that bearish engulfing candle actually got some follow through here to the downside. But definitely a shooting star off of the top of the channel is very interesting and definitely something we have to be aware of going into the month of December. So pretty interesting stuff there. Weekly chart, guys. We still have a couple days left in the week, right? We got 3 trading days left here in the week. But a bearish engulfing candle and a little bit of follow through the downside finally, right? We kind of up in the middle of the range. We had a middle inside week, and then now we've actually closed below last week's lows, which is a little bit sketchy, right? And you kind of look back at it here, and you're like, okay, yeah, we got the bearish engulfing. The bearish divergence here at the upper Bollinger Band, right? But not easy, right, at all to be like, oh, I'm just gonna be short, right? I mean, because we did push up, we did have fresh all-time highs. We kind of chopped around for a little bit, and then we flushed last week, and then this week we're kind of in the middle of the range. So again, you'd have to be like super duper duper uber patient on that to actually follow through. And we've seen it fail before, right? So it's just but pretty cool stuff. It keeps you at least keeps you sharp on it, and gives us some ideas, right? So if we go, the main clues here that we've seen, right, of course, is the breakdown below the bump line here. Under the ADMA, right? We got a nice close right here, which stretched the trend box down, right? Ultimately, and gave a nice move, and then they gapped it up yesterday, right? And then back a low volume upper shadow off of the ADMA, and then today was your down day, and then once we lost those lows right here, it was see ya to the next bump line, right? So this is the macro upper trend line right here from the Corona crash. You got your 50-day moving average here, you got your cloud, and you got your 200-day. So a couple levels that could be tested. We do have some open gaps below that are of interest, right? We got this open gap right here, this open gap right here, but really the 50-day moving average has been kind of the big trender, right? Recently, like on this whole move up, and we've talked about this before, right? So you can see here just off of just a couple of the recent 50-day moving average tags, right? We've had this right here with a nice bounce. We had two tags right here for a bounce. Tag right here for a bounce, right? These are your 50-day tags, right? Tag right here for a bounce, and we go. This is the kind of the big one where we're like, what's it gonna do, right? It's kind of working its way down, but it ended up working its way back up to all-time high, stretching our trend lines out, and that was the last time we hit the 50-day. So the real question is it gonna be another bounce here, right? Maybe a little bit of funkiness for a couple weeks, below the 50-day, or are we just gonna bounce straight off of it and go right to all-time highs? Now, a lot of people are really bearish out there, and we're still uptrending, right? We're not really bear market territory or anywhere close to it. There are some folks that are kind of floating around like some ideas, some sectors that are bear market and all that stuff, but for the most part, like Bitcoin, things like that. But for the most part, we haven't even tagged the 50-day moving average yet, right? And then the 200 hasn't been tested since really, I think since COVID, right? So actually back here in June, July of 2020, but we were right there anyway, right? And then we flushed below it here for the COVID crash, right? So the Corona crash. So, but other than that, we've been holding the 50-day moving average, and so we'll see if that continues. Today's news, the big thing today is, what was kind of the cause? Well, other than the chart starting to look pretty bearish, right? Is we had the Powell talking to Jay Powell and Yellen, at the Senate Banking Committee, and basically talking about no longer using the word transitory for inflation. And it's like, they were the ones that wanted to start inflation, but they basically just said that because all they do is print money, right? And the definition of inflation, right, is more money in the system. So if you keep printing money in the system, inflation's, pretty much a side effect of it, right? So it's just kind of funny to hear them say, well, at this point now it's not really transitory. Well, maybe stop printing the money, maybe we'll slow it down a little bit, right? That type of thing. So. But then you stop printing the money, right? You stop buying bonds, you stop doing all that stuff. Then, what's been propping up the market the entire time, right? So it's this whole kind of, spiral vortex, catch-22 within an enigma, right? That's going on right now. So they're trying to prop it up as long as they can, and then we'll see. We'll see, if anything, hits the fan, or if we just continue to buy the dip and keep going forever, right? For the forever bullish wave up here. So, but if we do bounce, right, we get above these highs right here. I wouldn't be surprised to see us get to 5,000. We've got a wave 5 potential move up there. So, we'll see how that goes. Going forward. But in the meantime, right, so a little bit risk off right here, and we had some fun on the short side today, of course. Our favorite days are red days, at least for me. So, just because things move a little bit faster, the volatility is a little bit higher, right, gives you more opportunities to capture some profit out there, right? So, but other than that, there are, of course, opportunities on the long side too. So, and we talked about, Apple today was a huge mover for us today in the group, and that just was an epic move. We put it on the public Twitter too, and just plenty of room to get involved in Apple today. It was behaving like Tesla on like a huge breakout, right? So that's what we're seeing here on SPX, and just kind of heading into the new month. And then the kind of the worrisome thing right here is this 1-2-1-2. We put this in the bubble report this morning that this is pretty much a chance of what was happened. The big concern, right, was how we handled the 618 and obviously the recent lows, right? If it was going to be a bullish move, if this was the A, B, C move, right, we would have bounced probably off of the 618, and we tried to bounce there. You can see that we got a little bit of a bounce, and then held at least the 886 and certainly 100% of the range. We couldn't do that today, right? And so what that implies to me is that we are actually in a bearish trend, right? We're kind of this 1-2-1-2, at least in the meantime, bearish, at least a corrective wave, but possibly a larger wave down. So we'll see. We'll see if they try to bounce it, right? Tomorrow we might start the month off pretty strong, get to the 618, and then that's basically a 1-2-1-2-1-2 type thing, right? So we'll see how that goes going into the rest of the week. So I think there's more JPOW coming up this week too, so that's always interesting as well. Anyway, it kind of gives us the monthly recap of the market. Let's see what the future, see what we're up to down to this evening. I haven't had a chance to really get into it. I was just going to say it wouldn't surprise me if we're green, just because it's the way the market likes to go. Oh, really, really bearish day. Everybody's bearish. Yep, gap up, right? So, but we're green based on kind of where we left off, right, at 4 o'clock, and so that was basically at this level right here. So it looks like we're good, right? But this geometric line that happened to hold here all day is actually serving as kind of like resistance, right? So see if we get above these levels here tonight, if we get going. Otherwise, a retest of the lows and a breakdown below the 45.50 level could get interesting. So we'll definitely be checking that in the morning and seeing where we're at as we put our game plan together for the futures in the bubble report tomorrow. So good stuff there. Anyway, guys, good stuff. So just having a fun week this week here. We're talking about setting stops. We haven't really done too much stuff on this. Yesterday we talked about market stops. Today we're going to talk about limit stops. So real quick, I mean, just to kind of keep it simple, really it's the importance of setting stops, and is really what it's kind of about, managing risk, right? So we manage risk a lot of times by having stops, right? So having a stop loss on there with your broker, one way or the other, if an area is taken out, like for instance, yesterday we talked about that bull flag, and in fact, here's kind of another example of a bull flag right here that failed, right? So bull flags don't work all the time, right? They only work in necessarily uptrends, and we're kind of downtrending a little bit right here on the short term, right? So we had this this nice move right here. This bull flag kind of poked its head out right here, and would have stopped out here at the low of the bull flag. Essentially going into the after-hour session, and so but we did have a nice little kind of flag pattern right here that would have worked wonderfully, and this actually didn't get a full symmetrical move down, but it did give a nice move at least equivalent to the flag right before pulling up again. So pretty cool stuff there on that. So with stops yesterday we talked about market stops. Today with limit stops, the difference between the two is, let's say for instance, if we're going with Apple, and Apple gave a really beautiful move today, and it was just pure momentum this morning. It just reminded me so much of Tesla, right? So when you start to see it, one of the big things I liked about Apple today was the volume, right? We've talked about that a bunch before. Obviously, we got your 15-hour breakout right here, right? So for a nice move right there. But look how the volume increased on the 15-minute chart. That's huge, right? Now, normally, you get a big 15-minute candle initially right here, and then your volume starts to taper down, right? And then, but to see this at the open, that showed there was some real buying pressure going on. We pointed this out. We walked through this on the live stream this morning in the group, going through this and going through the options. The 162.5s were our first target, first strike that we liked, and then the 165s, which ultimately got hit by the end of the day, which is pretty cool. So this stayed strong despite Apple, which is one of the the biggest names out there, heavily weighted names on both, on all three, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P. Basically, was fine. It didn't even really care that the market was really flushing, and so that gave us a major divergence right there. And it's possible that they could try to carry the market going into tomorrow too. So into the new month. But it looks like everybody, if anything, any institution wanted to own Apple going into next month. So, and it makes sense, right? Because, well, if the market's going to be bearish, at least you had some Apple, right? So a little window dressing type stuff there. But anyway, guys, so that's pretty much that. So let's say we got in on the 15-hour range, right? We wanted to set a stop here at the bottom of it, this 159.88. What we could do is, right, is let's say we wanted to enter here. We'd create we'd buy custom, right, and we'd buy with a stop. Right, and what you could do is actually here they've actually got buy with a stop limit, right? So what you do here is you buy custom, you buy with a stop limit, and your limit, right? So your entry on the buy, you might do a limit entry, right? You could do that, or you could do a stop entry, which is kind of interesting, right? So we do it, say, like above this level right here, the 160.82 puts us like right about here, and and what we could do is have our stop, right? They've got this at 159.82. Basically, this is about a full point here anyway. So basically at the bottom of the candle. And what you do is you set your stop limit, which is one way to do it, right? If you set a stop limit right here, that means once this price is tagged, then it takes you out at the market, right? So it gives you the stop at the market. So that is one way to do it. Another way you could do it is do a limit stop. And that's kind of what I wanted to cover today a little bit. You have to be careful with limit stops. Is just a pure limit, is because, especially if you're trading a volatile name, just because you have this on here does not mean you're going to get tagged, right? It does not mean you're going to get out of your position, and that's really, really dangerous when day trading, right? So, or any sort of trading. You know, swing trading, you can just kind of get out anyway, mark it out when it moves past your areas, but especially in day trading. And the reason is when things get volatile, right? So say you got long here, and this thing started to really drop really fast, it could actually skip because there's so much selling volume in here. That's why selling is so big, right? Because everybody, has to, just hit the bid, right? So they have to, just kind of just get out, right? So, and usually it typically markets out, right? And so a very, very bearish price action. And so if you're sitting here at like your stop is, let's say at 163.50, let's say 163.71, right? But the market, right? The bid is at 163.60, right? And people are marketing out, they could skip over your stop, right? And so what happens is that they skip over your stop and they're still marketing out of this thing. And meanwhile, your stop is still sitting up here as a limit order and not getting filled, and the price is still continuing to go down. That's why, in some ways, even though you get a little slip, like we talked about yesterday on the market stops, with these, if you skips over your stop, it can be really, really painful because you start to be like, oh no, it's pulling way against, it's way past my risk reward, and I'm really getting hurt right here. And then by the time it gets down here, right, you end up marketing out to get out of the position, and then it ends up going up anyway, right? That type of thing. So it actually did a little bit of a harmonic move right here, but you never know, right? We've seen plenty of moves where you do 180 reversal and all that stuff, but that's why you have to be careful with limit stops. So I always do market stops for mine. I just account for the potential for slip on those, right? We try to catch the best setups, the most high probability setups that we can, where we're not really too worried about it. But when it does happen, the slip really doesn't matter long term, with our trading plan. So that's really kind of the idea right there. So that's the difference between limits and market. And we're going to talk about some other stop ideas going into this week too that I think you guys will find interesting. But other than that, guys, good stuff. At this point now, feel free to. Hope you found that helpful. At this point now, feel free to plug in any questions or chart requests in the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can, try to wrap up as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So good stuff. So Shirley sent a few in here via email. So let's say, Shirley, hope you're doing great out there. Let's take a look at ZI. So again, fresh months, guys, but let's take a look here and see what we got. Woo! That was a breakdown candle right there. Look at that. So that was a really tight range right here. Again, low volume and then increasing volume here off of the ADMA, and then see ya under the 50-day moving average on Zoom info. Very interesting one there. You got AMC. Nice drop on that one too. A little bit of a lower shadow, but a breakdown below today's lows. Might want to see the 200-day moving average. Beyond, this was on the radar today, the 15-hour radar today. I think it got like an initiation from HSBC, and this day was a bad day to do an initiation on it, right? Nice breakdown on that one. Fubo, still kind of holding those lines right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this consolidated for a little bit, and then maybe it kind of builds up again for another move. And then QS, nice drop on this one too, but lower shadow off the 50-day moving average, right? So a little bit of caution there if you're short. But good stuff. Adriana, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. You got Starbucks on the radar. Nice. Little cup of Joe right here, holding the prior support levels. So let's see if that continues to hold and maybe consolidates and then kind of gets going back to the upside. If not, watch for a breakdown. TTD with an attempt at the top of the bull flag right here, but back below the ADMA. So let's see if it's got a little bit more room. It certainly has time after the huge move up. So let's just continue to keep an eye on it as it consolidates here. Yeah, my pleasure. And John Turner, what's going on? You got the GLBE on the radar. Global E Online, yeah, nice strong candle today, right into that resistance level. But again, a push above today's highs. Could start to see that 68.50, 69 level. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on there too. The DOCN, nice bounce off the 50-day moving average here so far. PD, retrace to the ADMA and back down. Roku. Outside day on this one here again today too. So again, still kind of struggling right here, but starting to consolidate a little bit, getting kind of interesting. And then the ESDC with outside day, it looks like here off of the ADMA, we got earnings coming up going into tomorrow. So that could be interesting here too. Mike, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. You want to see shop? I know you do. Outside day today, fully engulfing on the real body. A breakdown below today's lows. We've already kind of gotten back here to the scene of the breakout here, the recent scene of the breakout. Right? Any push down below today's lows, right? You know, you kind of have the 1500 obviously is going to be a level, and then below there you got your the 1478 at the 50-day moving average. So we'll see how that goes here. But kind of interesting area, potential support at the scene of the breakout. If the market gets strong, this might be an area for a potentially bounce. We'll see how that goes. And then IWM, guys, was kind of out of the gate bearish today, and then just with the banks kind of weighing on it a little bit, but it is holding on here to kind of a bunch of these little support levels, right? We're seeing some buying pressure in that area, right? So it's just a tough area, obviously, but this candle right here was probably a good one off of the 80 MA with increased volume to kind of start to test these lows, a couple retests down, and then boom, you got the gap, and then sideways, and then down. So pretty nice stuff there. And OTAS, what's going on? Good to see you. You got coin on the radar. We looked at this morning. It gave a little bit of a push with the Bitcoin names, but kind of straddling the 80 MA there with a red candle with increased volume, so a little bit of caution there. Zoom still struggling, right? Still under the 80 MA on this one right here with another engulfing candle on that as well. XPEV, a couple of these Chinese electric vehicle names are pretty decent right here, right? So nice little breakout, right? So if things are strong tomorrow, again, continue to keep an eye on these. They definitely had some relative strength while the market was flushing. These ones stayed strong, right? Lee's Kitchen was also pretty good on that one too. The LI, right, had a nice green candle on that one. Neo, not as much, not as much as the other names, right? So, but XPEV was pretty good with a decent move after earnings. So good stuff there. And then Netflix finally got a nice red engulfing candle day and closed below the 50-day moving average today with increased volume. This one actually was kind of a creeper today, guys. This was on our bearish radar today. Obviously, we were busy with other stuff like Apple early, and then of course the SPX on the short side. But this is another one that set up nicely, right? Kind of drop base drop today. Just really nice stuff on Netflix today. So again, see if it breaks. If it continues to break down below those lows, right? You got the cloud right below. There's another potential target on Netflix. But pretty wild to see it, the way it pulled back after its crazy run up. Very nice stuff. And then Nest, what's going on? MQ, still below the 80 MA and struggling here a little bit. The big C, again, lower shadow off a recent support. So see if we can consolidate and kind of get going on this one. Nutanix, so always sounds like a dog food company on this one. Failed to take the double inside day up and then flushed through the double inside day back below the 200-day moving average. So a little bit of caution there. IQV, nice drop here, increased volume below the 80 MA, so we'll see how that holds. And then PSTG, decent over the 80 MA right here. Again, it seems to like to move up, go sideways, move up, go sideways, move up, go sideways, move up, and maybe we'll kind of go sideways for a little bit and then see if we can break out of there. So definitely want to keep an eye on there. And OTAS, hope everyone had a great trading day today. Hopefully you did too. Hard to find setups. Yeah, any overnight setups are tough, but certainly today gave us a lot of bearish opportunities, right? And Apple really stood out in the group today. And I was banging the table on the public Twitter too. I was like, hey guys, Apple, everybody, Apple, it's going, it's best. Right, that 15-minute chart, right? That volume was just incredible on it. And the strikes, like we've talked about in the past, if you go back and look at Apple, are pretty epic today. So that's when we got involved, and we're like, oh, okay, right? So some pretty nice stuff there. CRM, Luke, Sarah, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So you got, let's take a look here. You've got this down off of earnings, right? We're at the 267 area right here. Let's see how that looks on the daily chart. Woo! All right, well, that takes us just about into this gap right here. So this is going to be kind of a big deal. If we break down below the pre-market lows, watch out. This thing could get to 260 fast, depending on what the market is like tomorrow. Otherwise, it could hold this area right here as support. And we're just kind of like in the kind of stuck between gaps, right? The gap up here and the gap down here. So, but my guess is that if things get bearish tomorrow, this thing aggressively goes into the gap. But we'll see how that goes, if it's defended or not. But good stuff there. In Thierry, yeah, you got LAC too. This one had a big day yesterday and ended up being kind of a pause day here today. But again, pretty nice move here for the lithium names. And then a Neo, which we looked at here a little bit here too, still kind of stuck between this this geometric range, right? And held in the 50-day moving average, right? So good stuff there. And Carl, what's going on? Neo, everybody's looking at Neo, so we're just kind of stuck right here, right? So it's not necessarily bearish, not necessarily bullish, we're just kind of in the middle and waiting for some clarity, right? So again, but a big breakdown below today's lows could get interesting. AMAT for the semis, again, about 180 reversal on this one. PEP, let's take a look. PEP with a nice drop here to the 50-day moving average. Burl, inside day so far here on Burl, and then MAR. Also, trying to bounce off the 200-day moving average, but a little bit tricky there, right? So, so a little bit of caution there. Archie, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, Apple. Again, beautiful move, guys. Almost to all-time highs. It looks like we're going to gap up. If it stays the way it is, looks like we'll probably gap up over all-time highs. But great trade on this one today. Very, very strong move. Like we said earlier, just a beautiful move today, intraday. Again, that 15-minute volume was just so strong, right? So a very, very nice move there. And we'll see if we stay over all-time highs if it continues to go. And like I said, this is one that that probably a little bit of window dressing. Everybody wants to own at least some Apple going into the new month, right? So so we've got that going on there too. Tesla, possible doji sandwich going into tomorrow. Very, very tight range. Right, so one of the big things, right, that we're just kind of tracking here on Tesla is, we talked about it this weekend, the triangle, right, on Tesla. So you kind of have this. So we're getting really, really tight right here. So let's see if we can break out of this way, one way or the other. And then Boeing, slippery hot dog, right? So starting that middle hot dog right there is kind of slipping out of the two buns right there. But we are holding these levels here so far. Kind of bigger picture here on Boeing, right, is this channel, right? This bigger channel right here. That we've just kind of, in between the entire time right here. Up, down, middle of the range, up, below middle of the range. And then so any breakdown below these levels, right, we could start to see the bottom of the channel again here, right? So again, we lost some major stuff right here. So just a little bit of caution off of that. So, and it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's not like Boeing's really doing much, and especially if the Omicron or whatever gets bigger, right? Less planes flying, right? Maybe, and then, Boeing selling less airplanes, that type of thing. So back to repeating everything back over again from, 2 years ago. So again, guys, it's been 2 years since the whole Corona crash, if you guys can believe it. But yeah, so Michael, you can't taper a Ponzi scheme. That's exactly it. Yeah, you got to keep on going, right? You got to keep riding the wave until I don't know. That's the thing with J Powell. It's like if I were him, I would have went ahead and just been like, you know what, I'm okay. I don't need to be renominated because like if things really start to go bad under his watch, he'll just forever in infamy. Pass it on to the next Fed chair, right? So they can print some more money, exactly, and then they'll give a new spin on why they have to print, right? So, but good stuff there. Modus, what's going on? Good to see ya. You got AFRM on the radar. Let's take a look. Yeah, so increased volume here below the 80MA, so struggling there a little bit. Coin we looked at a bit earlier. Big upper shadow, red candle below the 80MA on that one. And PayPal, we talked about this the other day. So Luxera, so we got this one right here as well. Pretty much got to this 180 area. So this is a major level of potential support, right? If you go to the, I'm not sure if it'll show up here. If you go to the weekly chart, right? So this is just a big area of prior support, right? We bounced, held, bounce, held, bounce, and now we're right back to that level. So it wouldn't surprise me if this area held for a little bit, and then we'll see if we go. But it might consolidate here for a while is the only thing. I wouldn't go for a quick trade on this one. I'd start to look for clues to see if it's ready to get going, like on a reversal. Although today's lows, if we do push above it, right, it's kind of like a 2B reversal. So we'll see if, over today's high might kind of get going a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, good stuff. And then Intel, Michael, Intel, let's take a look. INTC. Yeah, still struggling down below here too. But big volume at the end of the day. Yeah, it turns out had a big move right here. And there was something on Intel. I can't remember. They had some news recently. But yeah, big spike right here on volume considering that it's usually pretty blah. But pretty interesting there. We'll see how it goes on Intel. And a couple of these names that were out here, we're talking about combating chip shortages and stuff like that. This is 43 ASCO expresses conviction over accomplishing 5-year goals. Wall Street Journal Palace table comments. So they were just talking to Credit Suisse the other day. Maybe Credit Suisse bought a little bit at the end of the day or something like that. Took a little nibble on it, something like that. So, but pretty cool stuff. But good. So fun stuff there. In terms of, let me take a look here, guys. Let's go to our friends at ChatterQuant and see what they gave us here today. So let me get this pulled up for you. So ChatterQuant, guys, this is a tool that we like to use. We've done a couple videos of it. We've had them as guests on here. This is basically just a way to kind of sort through social media hype and noise, and it kind of consolidates to some of the most interesting names. I like the Pro Alerts right here. That's with the upgrade plan. But if you're interested, you can click the link in the description and get a discount on it. But they do point us into some great names right here. Obviously, CRM into earnings. They're actually pretty bullish into earnings, right? But we don't go with that, right? That's just kind of how things go. So, but a couple other names that were obviously very interesting today was Netflix, right? We showed how nasty that candle was today, so that gave a couple good opportunities to the downside, right? Obviously, the VIX was really hot today, and Roblox was an interesting one too. And it looks like Tracy is asking about Roblox here, so let's good to see you, Tracy. Let's take a look at Roblox and see how that goes. And like I said, guys, they don't give you buy or sell alerts. They just tell you that things are hot, on Reddit and Twitter, etc. And then you go to the chart and see if it makes sense, if they're talking about it for a reason, right? So Roblox we'll take a look at here in a second. Facebook, beautiful breakdown here today, guys. Very, very nice move. Nice close below the 200-day moving average. They were going to change their name to their ticker to MVRS, but I think it's going to wait until 2022. So we're not quite there yet. RBLX. Again, yeah, so this is a hot name today, right? So a big breakout early and then a huge reversal with a big upper shadow, right? So here's your big move up, right? And then here's your bearish engulfing candle and on down, right? So, and then we got a nice move up to our 60 anchor levels, right? We got this nice little triangle here, and I'm drawing a circle, and then a nice breakdown off of that too. So you can see how that ChatterQuant can really kind of lead you into some names that are pretty interesting, but this one's just not ready yet, and that's a pretty nasty upper shadow on that one too here on the daily. So a little bit of caution there. And then LRCX, let's take a look. LRCX, interesting, right? So that's actually not a bad candle, right? You got a big breakout right here, a possible doji sandwich to the upside. We had tagged fresh all-time highs on it. So again, I'd say a push above, a strong push above that 182.50 level could get it going, maybe back up to the 682.50 up to the 690 area. So that's another one to keep an eye on too. But good stuff, guys. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in, and thanks for the questions and chart requests. And let's see. Tomorrow's a new month, but it's also a new day. And so we'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning for the Good Morning Market Prep video right here on YouTube. Of course, we'll be there for our members in the Bubble Report and in the Discord in the morning too. So looking forward to that and looking for some fresh setups tomorrow. So again, guys, thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys bright and early. Till then, stay healthy.